Yo, what's going on, guys? In today's video, we're going to be breaking down why Overwatch 2 now, as it is, will never ever be fixed. And you guys guessed it, it has to do with the tank role. I'm going to actually take a deep dive into all the tanks who got left behind, all of the playstyles that were destroyed, and all the different changes and reworks that have been done or could be done just to fit this format. Anyways, though, this video is going to be a bit longer than the stuff I've normally been making because I am serious. I'm going to go over every single tank individually, talk about where they are in the game right now, and all the dumb things they have tried to do to make them work. But if you guys enjoy my content and you guys want to support me, please check out the Patreon down below. Make sure to leave a like. Let's go for 522 on this video. And please subscribe if you haven't. With that being said, let's just go ahead and get to work. Now, I know what y'all are thinking. You're like, well, Sprixy, you play DPS, so there's no way you could be any good at tank. That just doesn't make sense at all. Dude! Dude. Jokes aside, let's go ahead and get into it and start with our first tank, which is going to be D.Va. D.Va was always one of those tanks for me that I could never fully grasp, simply because the skill ceiling of the character is, like, absolutely insane. Like, when I watched Fury do this live, I was like, yeah, I'm never going to be good enough at tank. I'm going to go play Torb.
Wow. Pay attention to his defense matrix charge. It's not there! What? It's in the lab!
So what actually happened to D.Va? What were the big changes that got made to D.Va? I'm going to go ahead and cut myself off there. 4-second defense matrix. Guys, 4-second DM is, like, actually, like, insane. It is just, like, DM before was annoying, right? But it didn't last 4 fucking seconds. So you knew that it wouldn't be up in your face permanently, but now, since D.Va is the only tank on the field, she needs a way to face tank damage without actually taking it into her suit herself, which I guess the 25%, headshot reduction helps her. But I still think 4-second DM is insane, but I don't think it should be taken away because I think D.Va needs it to stay somewhat relevant in the current game. I mean, like, half of D.Va's HP is just straight up armor now. We're approaching 750 HP, which it's insane. We're going to talk about health numbers later. It's mind-boggling what they're at now. But it just makes D.Va really annoying to pierce through when she does have DM, and it sets apart really good D.Va players from bad ones with their DM usage. But overall, the interaction is extremely frustrating. She's nothing like she used to be, in my opinion, in Overwatch 1. The only time I really even see people play D.Va nowadays is to counter Pharah or Echo. And I mean, honestly, you're better off having your Cass or your Soldier or Sojourn shooting at them anyway. I feel like D.Va is one of those off tanks that kind of lost their place in the game. Like, playing D.Va with Winston back in Overwatch 1 was a lot of fun. You could protect your tank, you could protect your healers, you could peel off and protect one of your healers like that, or you could go and attack the healers on the flank, put pressure on them, and do what an off-tank should do. Again, personally, I haven't really played much of D.Va recently, but from the stuff I've seen and playing her slightly in Overwatch 1, the character felt so much more rewarding and insanely hard to master, but rewarding when you mastered her. I still think she has a place in the game. I don't think anything I'm going to talk about should be removed in this video, except I might argue Doom should still be a DPS, but that's a whole nother topic. D.Va does suffer from one of the hardest counters in the game, in my opinion, in Zarya, meaning Zarya can literally just shoot her constantly 24/7, and that's not a problem with the character designs, it's a problem with the format, because having just D.Va against just Zarya is never going to be fun, and you can still win on D.Va, but it is not going to be fun at all, and I don't think tank is fun at all anyway. One more final note about D.Va. The bomb. Her ultimate is just getting worse and worse. Movement creep in this game has been going insane. People like Sojourn, just sliding away from stuff. Just all sorts, Kiri, TP, all that stuff. Getting away from bomb has never been easier now, and I feel like it's more of a reset tool than anything. Her ult just doesn't have that same fear factor it used to back in Overwatch 1, in my opinion. You see bomb and you're just like, oh, I'm on Kiri, so I have to either press E or I can TP through 50 walls to get away from it. And yeah, I just feel like the character as a whole is in a weird spot with the format change in itself. But that's all I really have to say about D.Va. Oh my god, Doomfist. I mean, guys, this is my character. This is the character I played so unbelievably much at the start of Overwatch when he came out. I put thousands of hours into him. I loved him, and then they made him a tank. But tank Doomfist isn't really all that bad. He's just nothing like the DPS that I fell in love with, and that the change isn't always a bad thing. They took away Doomfist uppercut, and they replaced it with a block, which in my opinion was dumb. I feel like they should have just left uppercut in and knocked back down or pushed down the damage, so it didn't do as much. I think it was a really unique part of Doomfist kit. Gave him so many more movement options. And yeah, generally speaking, Tank Doom has been in a pretty okay spot for most of his time in Overwatch 2. Doomfist is one of those characters that if you are good enough, you can force him into almost any situation. I mean, look at Zebra. That guy played Doomfist into Mauga and was still like top 20 in the entire country. I'm glad that Doomfist still has some of his movement mechanics, with the diag punch, the downwards diags, the slam tech with punching out a spawn, super slam, stair slam. I think all that stuff is really cool. I know there was a lot of techs that have been removed, and honestly, guys, if you want to learn about techs and all sorts of Doom stuff, go check out Get Quaked On. I mean, he is the king of Doomfist, and he'll teach you more than I ever could about the character. But to keep things really short and sweet with Doomfist, I personally believe he should have never been a tank. I feel like him on DPS was the most unique and fun character I've ever touched in an FPS game. And I'm really heavy on the personally here. It's just my personal opinion. I still have fun playing Tank Doom. Not as much as DPS, simply because Tank is just getting shredded. Doom does still have his counters. When Arisa was meta, it was absolute hell to play into. He gets destroyed by Mauga. There's Hog is a really annoying thing to play into on Doom since you can't cancel his vape anymore. And yeah, overall though, Doom is still in a good spot right now. As I'd say, gameplay-wise, I don't think there's anything too crazy about him. I don't think there's anything, it's just Doomfist. And I think he's in a good spot. With Doomfist out of the way, we're going to be going on to our boy, Roadhog. Oh, Roadhog. This hero is either the most hated creature ever put into this game, or he is completely useless. There is like no in between. And 5v5 hasn't really done him any favors on changing the way that stands. I'm sure most of you guys are aware of the recent Roadhog meta we had. Thank you, Blizzard, for cutting that down. Roadhog is just a problematic hero for 5v5. I mean, the kit that he has is just, he's an off tank. He was made to get picks. He was made to hit those one shots. His hook was on an 8-second cooldown. It should still be on an 8-second cooldown. The fact it's on 6 is insane. I mean, the fact that he gets damage reduction on top of the headshot damage reduction while using his vape is insane. I mean, the fact that his vape is a resource meter now and can't be canceled is insane. Roadhog is one of those characters where you used to be able to punish him when he was a glass cannon if he messed up, but they are just removing every way to counterplay the character, which is making it unbelievably annoying to play against. Also, the Roadhog rework, in quotation marks, in my opinion, wasn't even a rework. All they did was give him a trap and change his spread on his gun and took away his alt fire. Also, remember when they said they were taking away Roadhog's one-shot and then they just gave it back to him again? Like, it is crazy. It's a hard situation for me personally. I didn't like Roadhog in Overwatch 1, but I didn't mind him as much because you could outplay the character. Now that we've thrown Hog into Overwatch 2, he has just become an absolute menace. I mean, they're just, again, removing all types of counterplay from him. The big thing for me is you cannot cancel his E anymore, or his self-heal. Doom was actually decent into Hog before they changed him because you could cancel his E, which was massive. But Hog could still one-shot. But also, he had way more HP than he ever did in Overwatch 2. The character simply just wasn't designed for Overwatch 2 at all, point blank, period. And he had problems in Overwatch 1 anyway. I mean, watching the devs kind of flounder around like tap dancing on the floor, having no fucking clue what they're doing to this character is amusing, but it's also worrying because you never know when they're going to spin the Wheel of Fortune and it's going to land on Hog again or Arisa, and everyone is just going to want to, get off the game indefinitely. I used to think Roadhog was super unique. I liked his glass cannon aspect. I liked the skill check of having to hit a hook to get a kill. I like the fact that his E could be canceled because you got punished. I like the fact that he had no armor. I mean, he still has no armor, but he's just more squishy in general. Also, it's almost like Hog would be less annoying and less, aggravating to play into if there was an off tank like a Diva who could stop him from always hitting the one-shot combo when he does land those hooks. Anyways, though, short intermission right before we get into the next tank, which is going to be Sigma. I feel like people don't discuss this quite enough, and that's the spin the wheel slash flavor of the month tank aspect. Before Roadhog recently, it was Arisa. Before Arisa, it was Mauga. Before Mauga, I believe it was either Sig or Ram. Guys, the proof is right in front of all of our eyes. They will keep doing balance changes and all these things, but there's still always going to be one or two tanks that are above the rest of them, that are going to be better, that will have better stats, that will play better in game. And you know why that is? It's because there's only one of them on the field. And it is just ridiculous that they are staring into the face of this problem, and they can see it happening in their own eyes. They're like, okay, we changed this. Now this is strong. Now we changed this. Now it's like dominoes falling over and over and over again. I apologize. I just feel like that isn't, spoken about enough. I just wanted to get that out there. But anyways, let's just go ahead and get on with Sigma. So, what did they change about Sig? Nothing. Coincidentally, if you guys could believe that at all. I mean, he had some HP tweaks and stuff like that, but other than that, nothing has really changed with Sigma. As of recently, there was that really, really dumb LOS thing with his ult. Thank God they removed that. That was so dumb. I don't really have a lot to say about Sig. Sig is really good on Sigma maps and can be forced on some non-Sigma maps. I mean, Circuit, Havana are just always going to be maps he's extremely good at and probably played on. I would argue Sig is still the best poking tank in the game. I mean, he has a great shield. He has an eat ability to eat things like Sun, eat, all sorts of Torb, all that kind of stuff. He has a stun on Rock that's pretty big and not too crazy hard to hit. His ult is really good. It's a game changer. Notice how nothing I am saying is stuff that was reworked or added after he was put into Overwatch 2, and that's because Sigma was a Overwatch 2 tank to begin with in the first game anyway. And that's all I have to say about Sig.
Winston, how's it hanging?
My boy Winston. For me personally, Winston's another one of those, tanks I didn't really play too much, similar to D.Va. However, I was amazed by people's mechanics with Primal Rage. I thought people who could juggle with Primal Rage were like the second coming of Christ because, whenever I use Primal Rage, I look like a baby floundering around. I mean, Winston really hasn't gotten many changes at all. They gave him that little right-click secondary fire thing, which, maybe once in every 5 games comes in useful to get a kill. But other than that, they didn't really do too much. I mean, I think Winston is in a perfectly fine spot when it comes to how he's played. He has his counters with Roadhog and Mauga, melting him, but outside of those, I think he's still pretty good. I would say Winston is still at least a or B tier tank. I think his kit is simple. I think he gets value. I personally don't find him annoying at all to play into or play as. Winston's just, how's it hanging, man? I mean, there's just nothing wrong with the character in my eyes. Obviously, it's a given. I think, he was a lot more fun when he had another tank to synergize with, which, it's a criminal that, double bubble, D.Va Winston, ball Winston, all that kind of stuff is gone. I shed a tear for all my Winston players out there who like doing that kind of stuff. I get it. He's basically just, a more tankier version of himself. So, I mean, if you play Winston, you just get to, experience hell longer while you're, 1v1ing an Ana and a Torb in the backline, AD strafing around your bubble. That's really all I have to say about Winston. Again, I think he is in a perfectly fine spot. I don't think they need to touch him at all. I think, he's balanced. There's nothing wrong with him. Anyways, though, I apologize for the last couple of these being really short, but we're about to get into one that I have a lot of pent-up anger in, and that is Arisa. Guys, I genuinely looked through every single clip I have in my entire computer from Overwatch 2, and I don't have a single one of me playing that godforsaken character. Anyways, though, Arisa. Arisa turned into just an absolute animal of a character. We took away shield, we took away halt, and we replaced it with spear and javelin spin. Javelin spin gives you an increase of movement as well as eating certain projectiles like Alari's ultimate, like Grab, stuff like that. Spear is a projectile that is thrown at a fast speed, and when it impales someone, it does a set amount of damage, and if you hit them and you snipe them into a wall, it does more damage, kind of like Doomfist punch. And Fortify. As we all know, you cannot headshot Arisa in Fortify, and she gains more armor and takes less damage, thus creating the Arisa we all know and love as Immortal, or Thanos Arisa as I like to call her. Well, they also decided to give her no drop-off damage on her primary weapon because I guess we're trying to make Arisa a literal everything monster. And, let's let her poke, too. Why not? That's a good idea, Blizzard. Anyways, every time I've run into Arisa in Ranked, I am just not happy to be playing the game. Playing anything other than Zarya into Arisa or mirroring Arisa is just like actual hell. I mean, Arisa literally had Reinhardt in a muzzle because you could just not play Rein into Arisa. That's how strong she was in that matchup. I mean, Cloudy dropped to like Masters 2 because everyone was just playing Arisa, and there's nothing you can do because Rein was so freaking bad into Arisa. I don't understand why at Blizzard their motto is let's make the really easy characters even easier to play by buffing them. So they're even easier. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Thankfully, though, I am the savior we all needed, and I walked into Blizzard HQ myself, and I slapped my hand down on the table, and I said, you guys need to gut this hero immediately. I have a really massive pull in the Overwatch scene, if y'all couldn't tell, and so, you know what they did? They nerfed Arisa, and now she is really bad, and you know what? Keep her really bad. I don't like that character. Honestly, in Overwatch 1, I didn't mind Arisa that much. If when you could still headshot her through Fortify, it wasn't that bad. She had less health. Halt was annoying. When they nerfed the radius, it wasn't that bad, though. It really wasn't horrible. The only thing that even made Double Shield a possibility in the first place was just Bap and Brig being like actual immortal gods sent down, picked out like netherite stars. They never touched them. Sorry for rambling, but they never touched them. And that's the only reason heroes like Arisa and Sig have such a bad rap in the first place. Besides Sig is, that character is something else. Like I said, he's already an Overwatch 2 tank. But Arisa, as she is today, is fine. I don't think that character should be anywhere near top of the meta. I think her sitting at a mid to low play rate is fine by me. I don't think anyone actually enjoys playing into or playing Arisa. It's like turning your brain off and staring at a bug zapper and just like, bzz, bzz, oh, throw a spear, bzz, oh, shift. Thank the Lord she's gone. Now we're going to talk about the first new tank, if you don't count Doomfist, which is Junker Queen. Okay, so Queen. Queen is cool. I actually like Queen. I think her design is really sweet. I think her knife thing is really sweet. I think everything about that character is really cool. I still stand by my word that the recent change to her shift was, a little power creepy. But being able to use Shout while using other abilities was a huge, nice quality of life change. I like Queen a lot. I think she's healthy for the game. I think she requires skill. I think Shout was a little busted when the character was released. But I like Queen. I really do. I've said it like 4 times, but you get the point. She benefited a lot from the 25% headshot reduction thing and, being able to self-heal. But I don't think she's overpowered at all or anything like that. I think she's just in a nice spot at the moment. It can be played in multiple different things. Her ult is still good. And any purple effect ult is always going to be good. If they're not playing Curie, that ult just gets so much value. But I think Queen is fun. Hitting those knives, hitting those big axe swings, getting the axe resets, nice shout, movement buff, all that stuff is really cool. Her gun is super satisfying to use. It's a nice little shotgun thing. The reload doesn't take long. She has a slim hitbox, so you can kind of manipulate the movement. I like Queen. We on this channel, we like Queen. And the nice thing about Queen is when you get annoyed at Queen, you know why you're annoyed at Queen? Because someone just hit a knife on you. And that's not annoying because it actually takes skill to hit that knife. So yeah, you're going to be mad, but then you have to be like, well, it probably took more skill to land that knife than it did to throw that Roadhog hook, so, at least that. I think Queen is a solid, just either A, B+ pick tank. I think she succeeds at what she succeeds in, and if you can play her at a high skill level, you will get rewarded for your skill, which is how I think every character in a video game should be made. Not really any other cliff notes about her, just keeping it short and sweet. And we're going to be moving on to the other new tank, Ratra. Going into starting this voice recording about Ratra, I really can't decide if I'm on the love or hate side for this character. However, I do think I like him more than I dislike him. The only annoying thing about Ram's kit, in my opinion, is the fact that he can just block and he becomes immortal, kind of like Roadhog. Outside of his blocking mechanic, though, I think Ram is a really fun, interactive, cool brawl tank. The fact that you can cleave through shields and through people with his punches are really cool. His ult used to be extremely broken. I don't know if you guys remember the infinite Ratra ult, but that was extremely interesting. Thankfully, though, Blizzard kind of toned that down a lot, and it's actually in a decent spot now. I think Ram is still good overall in the competitive scene. I don't think he's going to be played over stuff like Mauga or Winston or Doom and stuff like that, but I think he's good when he is in a brawl scenario. I think Ratra would be a lot more fun in a 6v6 environment, personally. I think his kit in like doing more damage and having those periods of being vulnerable, but then having that insane uptime when you're in his shift would be extremely satisfying in a 6v6 format. I like his slow mechanic, even though it can be really annoying to die to sometimes. I think it's cool. His little shield is nice. I like that it's not up forever, but you can get value out of it. His ult is, like I said, it's interesting but really cool. Allows to be more brawly and get your shift form back. I like the idea of having 2 forms. I think it's super cool. Overall, I don't think Ram damaged the game in any way. I think he just brought more different play styles to the game. The only thing I find annoying about Ram personally is when he just blocks, and there's nothing you can really do besides stunning him out of it for a second. But overall, I like Ram. Personally, he doesn't bother me, and that makes me happy. I'm gonna keep it a little bit short with Ram. That's kind of all I really have to say about him. But this next tank, I'm gonna have a little bit more to say about, and that's gonna be Mauga. Okay, so Mauga. Before you guys get your pitchforks out, I'm going to come out. I like Mauga. I actually think Mauga is really interesting to play and play against, actually. The notorious Mauga meta we had recently, again, another controversial opinion for me, I actually liked it a lot. I think Overwatch, in my opinion, is the most fun when the game is chaotic. And I think that's another reason I miss 6v6 so much. Having that one extra person just allowed for so many more random little side quests and things to happen in the middle of team fights, and it made the game feel a lot more alive. And maybe it's just because there was so much stuff on the screen with this, the cage and the sim shield and all that. But when Mauga was meta during that short week, the game unironically felt more alive than it ever has. Like, yes, it looked goofy and it looked chaotic, but playing that Mauga comp in a mirror in top 500 ranked was actually some of the most fun I've had in Overwatch 2. The thing is, though, I don't think that meta should have stayed for a long time. I think maybe 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, instead of just the 1 week they gave it. Anyways, though, Mauga overall, when he was released, was that character that, people would leave the game, buy the battle pass for because he was just so unbelievably broken. Mauga is also just one of those tanks that you look at and you're like, yeah, this guy was designed specifically for 5v5, and look, it caused all these issues. I think his cardiac overdrive is just insane. I think it's still really good. The fact you can live through pulse bombs just because you're in his E radius is ridiculous. Shout out Simito real quick. I think if we just moved his E onto himself and gave him damage reduction through that in a 6v6 format, the character would be a lot better and healthy for the game. But, I'm just agreeing with common logic. I'm kidding. Anyways, though, Mauga is actually a lot of fun to play. I had a lot of fun just running around in this deathmatch shooting people with him. I enjoy it a lot. I think his ult is actually really unique too. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it, like force fight scenarios, stuff like that. I actually like Mauga a lot. I just think that when he was released into the game, the devs didn't know what they were doing. And what a shocker. As he is now, I don't think he's turbo broken or anything like that. I think he is going to be in a good spot with Season 11. But yeah, I don't mind Mauga that much. But I will say, as much as I do like Mauga, I'm not going to hide from it. He is this is a 5v5 tank. He's a bit toned down now, but when he was released, that is a 5v5 tank. And it is crazy that they have to be that strong to be in this game. Anyways, though, with Mr. Mauga out of the way, we're going to switch it up and go talk about Wrecking Ball. So, Ball. Ball is Ball, man. He is one of the tanks that I think suffered the most outside of Reinhardt from this, shift into the 5v5 world. I'm not much of a baller myself, but I can clearly see that people don't play him as much anymore, and I think it's just because, his kind of identity of being the thing that, goes in and disrupts and gets out and, swings back and forth, that kind of flow in a team fight is kind of gone. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not completely gone. Ball is still a disruptor tank. I mean, that's what he's good at. I mean, it's the whole point of the character, but I'm saying he can't move as fluidly throughout the map because there's not another tank holding the front line. Also, people aren't used to not having a frontline tank, or at least the majority of people. So you have to the whole team has to kind of switch up their playstyle to compensate for having a ball player, which is not the person playing ball's fault. It is the format of the game's fault. Ball's had a lot of things happen to him since Overwatch 2 came out. Most recently was that rework, in quotations, that allows him to, it's like Spider-Man himself up against a wall and hold himself there. His mines also got a pretty big buff. Doomfist E can't clear them anymore, so they're a little bit more annoying. But I think it's good because I like Ball personally, even though the one thing about Ball, especially now, this character, if you know how to play him, you just never die. Also, the whole thing with him, like, giving the shields out to allies, like, people were freaking out and saying, like, wow, this is going to be so broken, and wow, this is so crazy, we have to go to this. Guys, I'm going to be real, I don't even freaking notice it, and I don't have a Ball on my team 90% of the time anyway, but I don't notice it half the time. I think Ball and dive comps can still work. I think he's still good at pressuring Widow and squishies and stuff like that, especially now with him being a super mega giga tank. I mean, the guy just never dies. I'm not really a Ball specialist. I didn't play him that much. I hit like 4.1 on Ball, just, messing around back in the day, but he was fun to play back in Overwatch 1. You didn't get hit with absolutely everything, and if you went Ball in Overwatch 1 and they went Sombra, at least there's still another tank running around there to, like, hey, look at me, you know what I mean? So, Ball just feels like he's in a weird place just because I don't think, again, he was made for the game that they put him into. This doesn't mean you can, you can still make Ball work. I mean, Chasm is high rank. Like, Yeatle can probably still play Ball at a really high level. The character can still work. But I'm saying he doesn't feel as fun and rewarding as he used to be in Overwatch 1, and you feel like you're taking more of a brunt of things when you play Ball, because not only can you not die, that just means you're min-maxing your life so unbelievably much, and it's so annoying for the people trying to kill the Ball. So the trade-off there is, it's just worse, for both parties. Anyways, though, with Mr. Hammond out of the way, we're going to get to probably my personal favorite outside of Doomfist, and that's Reinhardt. Okay, so Rein. Guys, this character is like, I have such a huge grin on my face. Reinhardt is like, unironically, probably, I'm going to say it, Rein's probably my favorite other than Doom. But, Rein now, man, he has changed a lot from what he used to be. His Shatter just got a huge buff with Kiriko not being able to, cleanse people out of the stun anymore, but I still think Reinhardt is really bad. Reinhardt just suffers from being stationary most of the time, outside of his charge. His charge is really his only, it is his only mobility-esque ability. Now, sure, they gave him more control over it, but this doesn't really help him when you have Tracer blinking around you at 400 miles an hour giving you the DPS passive over and over again. I still find a way to have fun on Reinhardt, but don't get it twisted. Me having fun on Reinhardt does not equal wins. The clip you saw of me with Metro there, half of that game, I was screaming, running around, doing the dumbest stuff imaginable. But Reinhardt is also special in that in Overwatch 2, he's one of those tanks that, like, if you're not playing against real human beings, you can just get away with the craziest stuff imaginable, and it's so much fun. But overall, I still think what they did to Reinhardt is a travesty compared to how he used to be in Overwatch 1. The neutral fights on Reinhardt in Overwatch 1, like a Rein Zarya mirror, were just, it's peak. It's peak. Reinhardt just gets bullied by a lot of the tank cast now. Ram, Arisa, Mauga, all those guys, they just dumpster Reinhardt, and Reinhardt doesn't really have a way to deal with any of them outside of just standing there with your shield up, which is not exactly fun for you or the people shooting your shield. Now, playing Dive Reinhardt in, like, Diamond and Masters is a lot of fun. I'm not going to say it isn't because, you can get away with stuff like that. But the second you start getting into high GM lobbies and people start counterpicking you, it is just, it's horrible. Cloudy literally has a playstyle for Reinhardt called Sponge Heart. And do you know what you do in that playstyle? You stand there with your shield up and just take damage. That's all you do. It hurts to see this character fall from grace about, like, what he used to be. kind of like Doomfist, but not really. I mean, Rein is just, he's still fun, and you can still make him work. And Rein mirrors are still a lot of fun, but just, I mean, I can't even put it into words how perfect Reinhardt was in Overwatch 1. The character just was, it was amazing. I am not a tank player, and even I can say it was amazing. The neutral fights, the value you could get out of Shatter, having to use your charge smartly, being in mirrors, all that sort of, oh, so much fun. I'm afraid that they're going to rework Reinhardt at some point in the future, because they refuse to go back to the 6v6 format, and Reinhardt just, even with all these changes he's getting and all these buffs and, like changing some of his abilities a little bit, like, I don't think he's ever going to work in 5v5 the way he used to. I said it in one of my previous videos, but the day that they actually rework Reinhardt and they drastically change his kit, I consider that the death of Overwatch as a whole. I think Reinhardt symbolizes a lot of what Overwatch is. I just think that his character, his lore, his design, everything is perfect, and I don't think they should taint it just because they refuse to switch what they're doing. Anyways, though, that's really all I have to say about Rein. I feel like he got left behind a lot compared to the other tanks. I feel like his, a lot of his playstyles are gone. You only really have 2 now, and it's, he's just not the same. Anyways, though, we're going to go on to our last and final tank, which is Zarya. Zarya, for me, is just in, like, the same spot as Winston is right now. I don't really think there's anything crazy or glaringly wrong with her. She kind of took over the Doomfist-esque, like, pub stomper tank, place. Like, this is the character where if you just want to deadlift the game and you want to do everything, you just play Zarya. She still pumps out good amounts of damage. You have 2 bubbles now, so you can keep yourself alive, or you can keep one of your supports or DPS alive longer. Having another bubble also means, you have more charge in general, so you do more damage in general. I still think having 2 bubbles is a little dumb. I think it makes, the skill of the character go down a little bit, just because in Overwatch 1 you had to, you only had your bubble for offense and defense. You didn't have, 2 charges of each. Grab has gotten a lot worse with all the new, support things. Lifeweaver just pulling them out, or using a pedal and like a tree, all that stuff. It just makes her a lot more frustrating to play whenever you're playing against supports who actually know what they're doing. Zarya also, like Reinhardt, does not have a lot of mobility, so characters who have mobility can, they have a way easier time actually taking them in a 1v1. However, though, Zarya, like the rest of the tanks on this list, is a super tank, so by default, she does have the edge in the 1v1 scenario, given you have some charge. I don't really think Zarya is broken, though, or annoying to play against. Yeah, I think Zarya is just Zarya. And, yeah. Obviously, I don't think Zarya should ever be a main tank, like the only tank on the field. I think she was made to support the other tank. I think that's the whole reason she was made. I mean, just like with Reinhardt, playing Rein Zarya, you bubble the Rein, he walks in, gets you charged, stuff like that. But, that doesn't happen anymore. Zarya is still fun to play. I again, for like the 4th time, I don't have an issue with her. I just think that she was more rewarding and more interactive and fun to play when you had another tank. It allowed you to, use your brain more and actually think about what you're doing instead of, getting bailed out because you have 2 charges of the bubbles. But, yeah, that's really all I have to say, guys. That's it with Zarya. So, in closing, I'd like to say, first of all, thank you guys for sitting through all of this. It means the world to me. I have a lot more, ideas and things that I'm going to be doing in the future. I may not have hit all of the points on the head as much as I would want to. I'm still getting used to articulating my points and getting facts and stuff like that for these kind of YouTube videos. In general, though, I think you guys can agree that tank is not in a good place right now. There's a reason that, you can insta-queue if you want to play the game on tank in like Diamond or Masters. Every time I play tank nowadays, I don't have nearly, not even half as much fun as I used to. I mean, and for some reason, every time I want to play Doomfist, I end up on circuit too, which, annoys me. Anyways, though, everyone, I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening, morning, or night. Please, if you guys want to, leave a sub down below and like this video. It helps me a lot. We are getting close to 2,000 subs. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys. Have a good rest of your day.